$15. All right, this is Sports for Real with Coach Hall. We're a little shorter today. Got about 15 minutes at the most before I have to go check in. The big thing with me right now is NBA playoffs. I had much chance to do anything lately except watch these playoffs. Kind of intriguing for a lot of reasons, but it also validates things also. By that I mean you have the same makeup each year in these playoffs about how these teams generally function. They get into a certain situation or they're starting to feel like leads they get, the leads that they have to overcome, if they feel like they're insurmountable, then they tend not to give it their all. So the question is that the case with Minnesota tonight? They're down 3-1, and will they show up tonight? That's all I want to know. Game sevens, a lot of times they turn out to be blowouts. They fall down 3-0, go in and back the truck up because it's going to be a sweep. Now you have a 3-1 deficit from a team that a lot of people thought would be representing the West. Of course, I never thought that, but, fans are always optimistic until they're not. And after blowing out OKC in Game 3, people thought Minnesota was back. But to me, that was more of a fluke than anything. You can't expect to shoot at such a high percentage all the time. And it rarely works. You have to be consistent in basketball if you want to be a good basketball team. And when you start talking about consistency, when you start looking at all these different series, that's not what you get, even from the teams that win. Last night, the Pacers end up knocking off the Knicks to go up 3-1. The difference in the game turned out to be the Knick turnovers. But when you start looking at the consistency of some of the players, you take Nembhard, for example. Nembhard, who's a starter for the Pacers, he's a guard, and he only scored 3 points. Even if they were to get by the Knicks, how far you think that's going to go when a guy that you depend on to score at least double figures only scores 3 points? And if he's only scoring 3 points, how is it, can they survive in the next round? Already OKC will match up better to them than what New York does. And for you to come out and then score 3 points, that's not going to get it. They're going to be in trouble before the series start. And you can't just turn the consistency switch on and off. It's been that way since I've been looking at Indiana closely. A real good team collectively. And they're the epitome of a team, being that you might score the bulk of the load tonight, and then I might pick it up tomorrow. Now, what's probably going to happen is Nembhard is going to score more points than Nesmith in Game 5. But again, even if you get by the Knicks, is that enough points to deal with OKC? Now, having said that, Trent Manpar says hi. I don't have a wave button, Jesse, but I'll say hello, Jesse Hawkins. I don't have a wave button. I don't have time for all that. But I do acknowledge you. But I don't have a whole lot of time today, so I'm going to go ahead and get to the point. I think that Minnesota will show up. And if they fall down in the hole early, then they're going to fold the 10 up. So the question is, how many points do you think Minnesota is going to score tonight? I think they're going to score less than 100, because if it's not a close game, then they're going to pack it up. Randall, he kind of disappointed them last game. He only scored like 6 points. In Game 2, he did the same kind of low output, and it kind of put Minnesota in a bind, because if he's the number 2 scorer behind Edwards, and him being inconsistent to that degree, even Edwards is being inconsistent. So by the grace of whatever God you want to pray to, they should have got blown out in Game 4. But the bench had a remarkable game. In short, Minnesota hasn't been able to put together a whole game. And do they have a chance to win this series? Not even close. But they can at least show up tonight to give people the idea that they can or is worthy enough to be in this conference championship. And I think they'll show up for the first half. But again, if they fall behind by double digits early, this game is going to turn real ugly. And you know that OKC is waiting to pay them back for that game 3 loss or embarrassment that they had a couple of days ago. So that's just my point on that. All right, so let me get some of these things here. Tree Train Top says the Pacers all the way, good team, good coach, great state. I guess so. I don't know too much about the state. I only been there once. Get ready. I'm working on a deal right now that's going to run me through Indiana a lot. So hopefully what you're saying is true. The Pacers, sometimes when you get to where you want to be, then you find out you're in the wrong place. Yeah, the Pacers want to be in the finals, but when they get into the finals against an OKC, then they're going to find out real quick that the matchups don't work in their favor, and you don't want to be in a position where you're on the stage with a champion, and now you get to be slaughtered for the whole nation to see. And I think that's where Indiana's headed for. All right, who's taking the bag and the rings? Well, I'll tell you guys all along that OKC was the best team. And while they might falter a little bit and fall off the wagon, the benefit that they have is basketball. And because it's basketball, you don't have to be your best all the time. You can actually take some time off, which I think OKC did in Game 3, getting beat by 42 points. And it don't really hurt you. One loss is one loss, whether you get beat by 1,000 or a tenth of a point. It's a loss. So that answers your question. Greatest ever says the Timberwolves just won't show up. They have to, unless OKC plays with his food first. Should be another. What do you mean play with their food, man? So you're saying they just they don't take Minnesota serious? No, I think they got more respect for them than that. But I think I get what you're trying to say there. But that was interesting. But I think that they will show up for they're going to show up for the first half. And if they fall behind and they're starting to get down 15 or so points, then they're just going to, it's going to be an embarrassment in the second half. All right. Rudy said Rudy Gobert hasn't been as productive. They're barely using Dante DiVincenzo now. Well, he played a pretty good game the other night. Minnesota bench actually outscored the starters. And if you get more production from the starters and have your bench hot like they were the other night, then they stand a great chance to win the game. But they hadn't been consistent in any area. I expect Edwards to have a better game. He probably won't be on tonight. I give him at least 1 3-pointer. But other than that, I don't think that DiVincenzo is somebody that you can really depend on a consistent basis. Crap shooters 7-on-1 to line in OKC by 9.5 points. I think they're going to cover crap shooter. Like I say, I don't expect Minnesota to show up for the whole game. They just don't seem to have a champion's heart, much to the chagrin of the people who thought that they were ready to win the championship. I never saw it. And if they fall behind early, you might want to take OKC with 13 points. Now, speaking of that crap shooter, I got a question for you. I'm not a gambler. I dibble around a little bit with some on the fringe, but I'm not really a gambler. I'm not a gambler at all. But I noticed that some people have a betting line about how many points Minnesota will score tonight. I think if they get blown out, they will score less than 100. But if I'm asking you the question, how many points will Minnesota score tonight, and whatever point you give me, does that mean that you're saying they won't score over that, or they'll score at least that? It's a vague question, and I can't quite figure out what the meaning of it is. So are you saying if you score, say, 100 points, if I'm telling you they will only score 100, does the bet mean that if you score over 100, that means you win? Or if you score less than 100, you win? I'm not quite clear on it. All right. So I'm asking the question, will the T-Wolves show up tonight? I think they'll show up for a half. And after people saying the same thing, I think in their mind, by losing game 4, that pretty much extinguished any chance that they had to win the series with them at that time. So now they have to save face, and they need to come on out and see if they can win that game. And if they're close, the longer it stays close, the more competitive they will be. But if they get behind any kind of way, I just expect them to fold up the tank because there's really no more adjustments to be made. You just gotta the bench has to score, and you need production from your starters, in particular Randall and Edwards. If they aren't producing, and the bench is not going to do what they did the other night, I just don't see a good ending for. I don't see a good ending for Minnesota. Now the finals are supposed to start on the 5th, I believe, and I think the 5th is a Thursday. Yeah, I think next Thursday is when the finals start. So it's going to work out well. If Indiana is able to finish, they're going to have about a week off, and T-Wolves are going to have about a week off. So if you got both teams taking a lot of time off, then that rust won't show as much, and we should have a pretty good series. But if both teams are rusty and it says OKC and Indiana, then they're going to have to steal that game 1, like they've done the last 2 series, in order to have a chance. But if they lose game 1, I might have to go to the hardware store and grab me a broom, man, because that's what we're going to be looking at. Because the matchup just don't favor Indiana, and you can't expect things to keep bouncing your way. Like I say, anytime you have a team that's really not supposed to be there and they upset their way to a certain point, either going to continue that in the championship round or they're going to be exposed. And I'm not worried about them. All right. OKC gets the chip. It's over, bro. Well, I've been telling you the whole time who the best team was. It's just playing out for everybody else to see. I don't get all wrapped up into that connection to the team crap or fandom ideology, I should say. I talk my trash about the Steelers, but in reality, I know what the Steelers are and what they're going to do. Don't bother me one way or the other. All right. Anas Almas says, let's go Pacers. Keep not believing in us. Well, I'm a realist. I don't have a dog in the fight. Yeah, you doing well against the Knicks, but as well as you're doing, the Knicks are committing more suicide than you are killing them. So if they keep drinking that poison and you find your way into the finals, the matchups do not favor you. Now, you can get on anybody and get on a run and pull an upset, but OKC just got a little bit more defensive weapons than the Knicks, and offensively, they're more consistent than the Knicks. But if it was me with the Knicks, I'm going to spread the floor, and I'm going to give the ball to Towns. You got no answer for Towns down low. But Towns, I wonder where his head is sometimes because he commits some of the dumbest fouls. It can foul him out in the first quarter if they really wanted to. He's always late on the screens, and he always leaning his hip in when the guy comes around. That's a foul. It's a moving screen. They call it every now and then. Now, in his defense, when those guys be grabbing him and he moves his arms up and it looks like he's got them held, they're holding him, but they call a foul on Towns. And still, if you know they're going to do that, why would you even raise your hand to give it the appearance that you're holding the guy? That doesn't make sense. But yeah, he created some dumb fouls, man. If the man didn't create those dumb fouls and they just spread the floor and give it to him, I think Indiana couldn't compete with that. And when you add to the fact that Brunson's going to score his 25, 30 points, I just think that the Knicks have the wrong approach in this series, especially after you've seen that they can't guard Towns. Why not go to Towns all the time? Run the offense through him. Give him the ball. Let him play, man. But you wonder. Goofy Kid, how you doing, man? All right. So even if we were playing against New York, but thanks for kicking the damn Celtics off. Well, I don't know why everybody hates the Celtics. They love the Lakers, but hate the Celtics. Well, they were the champions, so you have to give them the credit whether you like them or not. I hate the fact that Tatum got hurt the way he did. He's pretty much going to miss the whole season. It would have been nice to see a champion get beat on the floor instead of going out like that. And quite frankly, the only reason you have Minnesota in the conference finals this year is because Steph Curry got hurt. So injuries is a big storyline for this year's playoffs. If Curry doesn't get hurt, we're talking OKC, Golden State. And if Tatum doesn't get hurt, I don't know if the Knicks are going to be there or not. So you're in a position, take advantage of it. But the Knicks, they got the wrong game plan, and they don't use their bench effectively, and it's going to spell doom second straight year against the Pacers. All right. Charles Edis, how you doing, man? Shout out to you. Because the Celtics pay the refs. Well, I got a little upset with the ref last night. Seemed like in that third quarter there, he just called a rash of fouls on the Knicks. It's like they got in their huddle and said, look here, all right, let's call like 5 or 6 fouls on the Knicks, and we'll send the Pacers to the line for the third quarter. And damn, every time the Knicks, they bump into the Knicks and they call a foul, especially with Josh Hart. He picked up 2 quick fouls, and Mathurin was out of control. He fell into him, and he called a foul on Hart. Come on, man. If that's the way you're going to call it, I just have all my players just flop around into a guy, and he get into foul trouble off me being out of control. That's high school shit. You can't call a foul on the top level like that, man. The referees got to be better than that, man. All right. Who you got tonight? It's SGA. They don't have any answers for SGA. They try to put McDaniels on him. He can't slow him enough. And with the inconsistency of Minnesota, that puts Minnesota Edwards in a bad spot. I think Randall would pick it up. I think Edwards is going to have a better game, but SGA, they're going to put the stamp on this series tonight because I don't think that Minnesota can stay within 10 points of them in the first half. If they get to 10, 12-point lead in that first half, then I think Minnesota's going to fold the 10 up. And I don't think they're going to score 100 points tonight because they're going to get blown out. But the longer the game stays close, the more Minnesota will compete. But in the end, OKC is going to beat them. All right. So you think I need to take my cash out of my... Look, man, I'm the wrong guy to ask about a parlay. Every damn time I get one, some guy lets me down. I had Nembhard last night to score 8 points, and he had 3 in the first half. You think he can score 4 or 5 in the second half, right? No. He didn't score a point. So I'm the last guy to ask about a damn parlay because I just can't get it, man. My Pacers doing good, but this year's playoffs, yeah, they are. Like I say, if to have the players get hurt the way they did, it's not a good way to have a team get beat. If you want to be the champion, beat the champion. I want your damn best players on the court, on the field. I don't want to hear no excuses. We want to beat you with your best, and I don't want to win like that. I hate gambling too, but like I say, I fool around a little bit. Get a chance to make a few dollars. Why not? As long as you're not spending your whole check on it, and a dollar here, a dollar there, I don't see no harm in that. Will the T-Wolves show up tonight is the question. Most of you say they will. I tend to think that they're not going to show up. If they do, it'll show up for a brief period of time. But I don't know. But anyway, I got to get up out of here, man. I appreciate you guys. Well, like I say, I love gambling, Mr. Carter. How many points you think Minnesota's going to score tonight? Like I say, that Minnesota, they won't play a whole game tonight. I think, like all NBA teams, once they fall down 3-1, they just mentally quit. And they come out and they play hard for a quarter or so. Then when the game turn on them, they just quit. Damn how much money the fans spent. Damn your parlays, all of that. We lost. We don't stand a chance, so they just fold the 10 up. And Indiana is a good team. If they make it finish off the Knicks, I just don't see them matching up against OKC, but I don't want to get ahead of myself because the Knicks aren't dead yet. All those games have been close, and the Knicks have been committing suicide, man. And if they stop committing suicide, I think they can come back and push this to a game 7. That would make things really interesting. Carter says, I just think they got to win one more time for the script. OKC will put them out next. No, they're not going to win on OKC's floor tonight. They don't want to run that risk of having to go back to Minnesota and having another great performance by the T-Wolves. So I think that series is going to end tonight. Only money I made was putting $600 on the Bills against the Ravens. Well, that was a risk because the Bills tend to be BSing. And but it's also not a bad bet because the Ravens, I call them the regular season Ravens. don't bet against the Ravens in the regular season because you might just get knocked out. But in the playoffs, it's always a good bet to go against Baltimore because even when Jackson is most of the time he ain't going to put it in there when it counts. He did show me one time that he could drive a team down when it counted the most. He did that, but Andrews dropped the ball. But that's the microcosm of the Ravens. If Jackson is on, the receivers are going to drop the ball. If he's slightly off, they'll make him look good. But when it counts the most, they won't do it. I've seen that happen to him twice in the playoffs. So that was a good bet there, Nas. No, Henry's not overrated. One thing about Henry, though, he's got so many carries on his back. He's the type that could time out any time, kind of like what's his name? Deshaun Alexander. Sean Alexander that played for the Seahawks. All of a sudden he woke up and couldn't do it no more. And I worried that Henry would fall into that same boat because he had so many carries. But overrated? No. I know the Bills only losing against KC, so I knew what I was doing. Well, we're going to put a stop to all that this year. Pittsburgh going to whoop all of them. I don't know what quarterback they're going to come up with, but I say to hell with Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to call Atlanta and see if I can get Kirk Cousins to come down here. And then when I do that, that's the time Aaron Rodgers is going to call. All right, so I'm getting over to another basketball, critical time, NBA playoffs. Football always out-trump basketball. We're going to talk about football no matter what, even if it's games 13 of the NBA Finals. Football is more important. That's why I tell you guys all the time, and I'll leave you with this. Basketball, baseball, and any other sport is just something to do until football comes back around. Remember that. All right, I ride with Jay Fields and the Jets for the playoffs. Well, I ride with you too. We'll get in the car and go to Heinz Field and watch the playoff game. We get some good seats, Jets, but it's about as far as you're going to go as talking about the playoffs because we just have to get you some tickets for that, man. Will the Wolves show up tonight again? Most of you are saying that they will. I hope they do, just for the sake of professionalism. But I have no confidence in Minnesota. If they get down by 10 or 12 points, that's going to be it. It's going to turn into a blowout. But anyway, I appreciate you guys chiming in with me. I see a couple of likes there. Smash them likes up, man. Hook me up a little bit. And if I don't come back on today with breaking news, I'll be back on about this time in the morning. But in the meantime, I got to get up out of here, man. I got to go to work. So I'm out. You guys need to chill because my Rams are winning the Super Bowl. Well, let me end with this. Any of you guys with good football teams that you have confidence in for this year, you're right. You can go to the Super Bowl. All you got to do is go down to Walmart or Best Buy, get you the latest copy of John Madden, put it on season mode, and you can take your team as far as you want to go. You can even create a Hall of Fame player, man. But as far as getting to the Super Bowl this year, that's the only way the Rams are going to get there. I'll leave you with that. So you guys have a great day, man. I'm out. Okay, they told me in the Midwest tennis become a passport last 5 years. Says they want going to Wimbledon this year. I hadn't seen Wimbledon in a while, and no, I'm not going to England. I don't think it's good. No, I'll leave that alone. Yeah, the Bears going to. You're going to sit right there next to the Jets at the Steelers game in the second round of the playoffs. All right, you guys have a great day, man, because I can be on you all day with this. Got to go to work. So I'm out. Appreciate you stopping by.